Okay, let's talk just briefly about your brain on trauma. So, you used to see those commercials with the egg in the frying pan that said, "This is your brain on drugs." We're not going there. So, what happens, one, our brain is called neuroplasticity, it's ever changing. And so, whatever happened to us, we can still develop new responses to life experiences that are not through that lens of trauma. And so we do that by building resilience and learning discretion about when to be vulnerable or not, and undoing the power that shame carries in our lives. So when we have experienced interpersonal trauma, there's almost always a lot of psychological, mental, emotional manipulation that takes place. And so that's what I call the brain on trauma. We can't see things without seeing it through the lens of all of that psychological, emotional, and manipulation. And so we have to begin recognizing where manipulation occurred. We need to undo the lies and replace them with truth. And we need to build resilience and a resilient way of thinking. Because we're targeted as a victim by a perpetrator of trauma, then we learn to see life through that kind of victim or trauma lens. And oftentimes interpreting things through that lens leads us to be a victim again and again and again, when if we could interpret life events or experiences, relational experiences, through a lens of resilience, we might not find ourselves being victimized quite so much or at all, because that victimization is really residual flooding forward to a current situation. So in the mental, emotional, psychological manipulation that occurs with interpersonal trauma, we're given messages that we're at fault, that we're wrong, that we don't have value, that we deserve what we got coming. And we're also given confusing messages like, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you, you'll be safe." And then the perpetrator of our trauma proceeds to attack us in some way that is indeed very harmful. And that harm could be physical, sexual, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial. And those types of harm are very real and in contrast to what we were told. There's another type of manipulation called gaslighting, and that's where we're caused to basically doubt our own experience of reality. And when that happens, it really undoes your own sense of self and your own ability to kind of filter life from your own experience. And you start to filter everything through this lens of confusion, and if I really can't trust my own experience, my own gut, my own instinct, my own thoughts, my own decisions. And when that is all, that foundation is crumbled, then that's another example of our brain on trauma. Then how do we navigate decisions? How do we trust what we've experienced in the world? We start to question everything, and the answer to those questions is almost always that somehow we're at fault, we're wrong, we're not worthy, we deserve the bad things happening to us, nobody likes us, everybody hates us, we're gonna go eat worms. And so we wanna undo all of that and help the brain grow new neural networks through new experiences and through actually capturing, naming, and recognizing the good things that do happen and seeing life's experiences through a more resilient lens, so that the trauma brain is no longer the leading force in our interpretation of life, but the resilient brain is the leading force.